Hi, and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show Roll for Damage. We've awoken from our holiday food comas and we're ready to rock and roll. On Friday, our heroes got back into the swing of things by fighting some lions and bears in the mountains. Oh my. And also avoiding some fights with big birds, giant rock things, giant bird things, giants, the normal type, and also rock slides. Oh my. Baltaim was pretty clutch. Several people had a few heart-to-hearts. Quinn practiced his meditation, and the party finally nabbed enough meat to repay their debt. Questions still remain, though, as we leave the Shields of Twilight, and the path forward for two characters in particular remains a bit shadowed, a bit mysterious. And there's also still the whole issue of the world ending and stuff, you know. We'll be talking about all of that right now, and then we'll be having a little roundtable discussion about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's not every day we get a new rule book, and we're all super excited to talk about this. As always, stick around after the stream for links and resources. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Hey, okay, so joining me today, we have Chad, who plays Quinn on Fridays. We have Caleel, who plays the wonderful Baltaim. And we have, once again, Serenity, who's our favorite DM. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming on. So, Hunt, part 2. What's the damage this time around?
I mean, we were successful in a thing, so that's like kind of huge.
Yeah.
We set out to do a thing and then did that thing, not other things, the thing that we wanted to do. It's like a first.
Yeah, that's how planning works.
Yeah, achievement unlocked.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, so you guys had a pretty successful hunt. You wandered around the mountains for a while and did some stuff. And Baltaim in particular was quite clutch on the mountain. You managed to first save your friends' butts from a rock slide, and then you sweet-talked some giants. It's my understanding that Baltaim's a bit of a city slicker himself, but he seems to be adapting rather well to nature. Thoughts on this, Caleel?
I mean, he's a city slicker, I guess, at like by where he grows up. But I feel like as a person, he's like just like a normal like average Joe guy. So it's like he understands like he's not like Dobby is like a very much like a city, like a New Yorker. Like he's like, oh, I'm like boom boom boom, let's get things out of the way. Like Baltim's, I guess he's a little bit more personable.
He's like from Chicago or something.
Yeah, rural Pennsylvania or something.
Right, yeah. He's like one of those people. He's like, I'm from New York, but he's not. He's like actually like outside New York City. He's like, I'm from New York.
He's from New York, but it's actually upstate.
Buffalo.
He's from like Rochester or Schenectady.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm from New York, but it's like, no, nah.
Not the city. It's like a 3-hour train ride to get there.
But yeah, I think he just He's just, I don't know, he's just chill dude.
Yeah. Would you call him like an adaptable character? Because I feel like he has not been super thrown by anything, by any of the many different environments that your party is tramped through.
Um, I would say so. I think that's just like him as a character, and like
Mm.
he like though like um the goddess of Andra is the goddess of change. So she is a very like adaptable like one of her tenets is like um things will always change, but it's your duty to make them change and for the better, like change for the better. Like there's no way of stopping it. It's gonna happen. But what can you do personally to make it either be a good view or something positive come out of it? So I think he's just kind of a like he's just like roll the punches type of guy. He takes something and like he gets hit by it and he's like, well, don't let me get me down. See this in a positive light and spin it some way so you can change it for something better.
Mm. It's a very zen way of thinking about it. Okay. So we also got a couple of intriguing glimpses into Valtime's character and his backstory this episode. So Valtime's generally a little bit more soft-spoken, but you did have a conversation with Oriana this session, which I thought was very revealing. Do you want to talk a little bit about like what you discussed and what that kind of like how that relates to who Baltaim is as a person?
Um, I'm trying to remember what I said. I know what you're what the, like what this is based off of the part. I assume this is based off of him telling her if he had the chance to do something, achieve his goal, just take it. Like doesn't matter what it is, the consequences be damned. Later, you'll feel that. But I think that's just. I think that is a little bit. Yeah, that is revealing into his more of his insight of how he views the world. Um, I think his personal quest to him, um, that is something that he is um, immovable on. I feel he
Mhm.
um, it doesn't matter the journey to get there. It just matters the destination that you get to there. I think that's kind of his the way that he looks at things. The journey is nice, and it's nice to have the journey. But if you're, but um, you need to be making that journey towards your destination.
Interesting. Yeah, so during the conversation, it sounded like Ball perhaps knows a thing or two about making deals. Um,
I mean, he's a warlock. That's kind
I
of
mean,
like
yeah,
day
yeah,
one.
day one.
That's warlock
Yeah,
orientation. So you want to sell your soul.
or other things, who knows? Awesome. Yeah, so in the advice, like in Ori, I didn't really give you that much context.
Mhm.
But kind of, I guess, jumping off the last point, does he really believe that there's no limit to like what you can give up in order to achieve your goals, or is it a little bit more tempered than that? Or without going into too many spoilers about
Right, right,
your backstory, which we're gonna find out eventually.
right.
Yeah, like what's his viewpoint here?
I think this. I believe. I think I asked her too. Like, if it's is this like goal like something you like have to get or something like that. He like asked that or something
Mhm.
like that. And I think and we all know. I mean, he is looking for his sister, and so like that's his goal. And his viewpoint, if it is comparable or greater than what my goal is, that because I don't know because we didn't talk about like I was gonna ask her like what are you like what's wrong, what's going on. But if it like if you sense that it's comparable to what you believe that I'm going through, um, I'm telling you I would give up all of who I am to achieve this goal. If it is greater or comparable, that's what I would do is give up all no matter what the consequences is. That's what I would do to achieve that goal. Um, and I think he thinks that he would do about anything to achieve his goal. I think um, uh, he is one to known to make deals. He is a um, not afraid of deals. He knows. But once he makes a deal, he usually wants to commit onto this is what's been done, or this is what I said has been done, or said I want to be done. I'm going to my best uphold it unless unable to. So uh, the deals that we make, um, if I can't uh, follow through on them, then it kind of hits personally. I feel for him.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah, Baltime's got some depth, I think, and I'm very excited to see what Serenity's got planned for him and
Again, he
how.
was very in character though. Like if you pay attention to like all of the
Yeah,
things that he's done over the course of the campaign, like he's constantly like anything that has moved them forward, he's always been the first one to be like, let's go in this direction. And that's often the party that's had to like temper him back and be like,
Right.
whoa. Yes,
Hang on
that's
a
a
sec.
direction.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the direction we want to go. Like if you remember, like there was a time in Zarithamar where they could have just stormed the hideout of the
Right.
group, and he was like, yeah, let's just go in, guns blazing, like let's just fight them. And the rest of the group was like, whoa, our friends are in there. We're not sure what we're running into. Shit could go down. People could die. And he was like, consequences be damned. Same with like what happened with Bane. Like he was one of the strong voices that was just like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go. Like off we go. Because he wants things to happen quickly because he's trying to get, he's trying to get through this to get to where he needs to go. And I think that's even like the deal that he made with his sword. It was like, I will give you this and I will help you. But by the way, you go against what's being asked of you here, you're going to pay for it heartily. And so now he's got to make good on the promises that he's made. So I think it's very in character for him. It was just an interesting dichotomy between his personality and how he chooses to do things and someone like Peregrine, who's very much
Oh
like,
yeah, I love that. Can we talk about that for just like a second? I love
Yeah.
that.
Before we get to that, I want to say one thing about what we're just talking about. The thing with Baltame that makes him come off as not being so incredibly impulsive is the drawl, because so we go in there and then we kill all those people and then
Because
we
he
go
talks
have
slow.
some schwam.
well,
It's just it all sounds like so much slower and smoother because of the accent, but no, really, without the accent, yes, let's fucking go. He's like a coked up nightmare, basically.
I think he's also very like, he is a very chill, like he's saying like, yeah, let's go do this, but he's not saying it in a like he's not Dobby about it.
Yeah.
He's not like, we're gonna go do this now, like like
no, but
he's
from like a
he's very much
decision-making
like
standpoint.
Yeah, I think we should do this, like if the rest of the group doesn't want to, but like really this is how we should do it, right? Like this is how we're gonna do it. He's very much like zen and mellow in how he's saying it, but he's very focused on his viewpoint. Like he's very like, he's kind of immovable on a lot of stuff, but then he'll go with the flow of the group. If he doesn't necessarily, his viewpoint doesn't shift ever, I don't think. Like he's never said something in one direction and then changed that and said, no, you're all right. But he will kind of like go with the majority of the vote kind of thing. So while he still believes, oh, we should have just attacked them, if the group doesn't want to do that, he's not going to force them into a decision like that. But I think, yeah, it's very much like his personality is like, here's what we should do, and I'd like it. And if the group is very stagnant, he'll just move forward and say, like I'm not going to wait for you guys. Like we're getting, we're not getting any younger here.
He'll take the information he gets and make a very immediate decision. And if that is the decision he's come to, that's the decision he's come to. There's other things that can like, if you like make sense to him, he's like, oh, that's like, this is why this is a bad idea. He's like, oh yeah, that's good, that's right, and he'll like change, I guess, in that sort of sense. But like, if he's like, well, no one's saying anything, we got like this option presented to us. Well, this is the decision I made through in my like thought process of thinking it. So this is what we're doing. Like, this is
not the wisest character. But
no, he's not. Absolutely,
that's shown.
Yeah.
He's fun though. He is laid back and secretly ruthless, and I do love it. What do you want to talk about with Perry?
Oh, just the juxtaposition of like me and Perry, of like how we come at things, and like the like back-to-back conversation with Ori. Just like, I love that, because like I feel like I think before Dobby, I feel like Quinn and then probably Perry, the two people Baltime gets along the best with, or communicates with the best with. And Quinn is very closer to Baltime in some senses, and Perry is very opposite of Baltime in some senses. But like, I feel like they've never really butted heads unless like there was something wrong, like something internally messing with them, or Perry's death of her clan, or her sister clan, and Quinn and his situation. There's never been like a butting of heads between those, like him and those people. I think that's very interesting, just like how even though like very vastly different than they are, they can be like understanding of each other.
It's also just hard to yell at Baltane because it's like screaming at a fortune cookie, like there's this weird concise wisdom right here, and it's delivered in just a completely unassuming package. Like I can't. Like you try it, but it's like
I want to yell at you. But
why am I doing this now? Damn it, I forgot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was very interesting because I don't think either, again, like this game is very much the idea of like you choose a path and that path is not necessarily the wrong one. It is just a path that you're choosing to get somewhere. And I really liked seeing that there are two vastly different characters that would achieve their goal in a different way. And that's what makes them who they are. And then you've got Oriana kind of in the middle, still trying to figure out who she is and like what she would choose. Would she fully go the Baltaim route? Would she be as, as calm and as collected as Perry and be able to wait, or does she find this like kind of in between, or like it's kind of like where on the scale does she fit as a person? And I think she's still figuring that out. And it was very interesting to see these two people that are basically on opposite ends of the spectrum giving her advice, and she kind of has to decide like who ultimately am I, and what's the decision that I want to make that moves me forward in my life.
Yeah, she got advice from 3 people last session and got wildly different pieces of advice from all of them. It was really fun, actually, to watch that. Very good character moments all around. We're going to move on to talking a little bit about Quinn now.
Who's that guy?
I know things about that.
Really? Oh, I was going to ask Serenity about it.
She knows more than I do, probably.
Yeah, so Chad, we've talked about Quinn's existential crisis and ongoing journey of self-discovery. I think we've talked about like the big theological questions before with you, but I want to touch a little bit on the little things, because we saw during this episode Quinn practicing his meditation, making like a concentrated effort to talk to and be nice to his friends. So I kind of just wanted to talk about that, like the way Quinn is altering his behavior in his attempt to change who he is, essentially, or not change exactly who he is, but be a better version of himself.
You're on it for the first one, basically, because they're kind of the same thing. Like changing who he is and being the better version of who he is, it is still a form of change. Like if you're trying to be the best version of who you are, that is admitting that who you currently are is not that, and change is required to get to the end goal of best version of. It's like going through the good place 1,000 times. You eventually do get to be the best version of who you are, but not until you change a lot over many Jeremys.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, talk to me about the little things that Quinn is doing.
I mean, he's basically just trying to make what change he can in the in the time and space that he has to him. And the smallest things that he can change are just the things that were pointed out about how, you never call your deity unless you want something. You're a dick to your friends, and they've been doing nothing but try to help you. So he's trying to alter those specific bits, because everything else, as far as like him being stupidly impulsive about stuff, that's not really something you can work on without getting external stimuli that make you want to do something stupid and impulsive, and then just saying, no, I'm not doing that this time. Not this time. Maybe next time, but not right now. The rest of it, though, is like, that's what he can do with the time he has right now. So that's what he's trying to do at the moment.
It's very interesting to see him just, I don't know, like consciously trying to alter his behavior. It's not something you see people in general, and I'm gonna say that in real life, it's not something you see people in general do that often, to be self-aware like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's a cool character moment. We had, as I said, a lot of cool character moments. Awesome. So you had sort of the same discussion with Oriana that Baltaim did,
Mm-hmm.
and gave her essentially opposite advice. So I'd like your perspective on that, sort of like from, in the same way that I asked Caleel, how did who Quinn is, essentially his experiences and his internal morality and way that he views the world, how did all of that coalesce to make you give Oriana that advice in particular? Obviously, it was a very personal, you went at it from a pretty personal perspective.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was basically just coming from a place of, he literally, like 5 minutes ago, went through the same sort of situation where a being that is far wiser and more powerful than he is gave him shit for doing stuff dumb and doing things the wrong way, or something similar to that from what was done with Oriana, and he had to stop and just examine, like, these are true statements that are being said about me, so what does that really mean about me? Also, the fact that he was offered up basically everything he wanted in one weirdly convenient package, and he had to decide, does he want to just take it and run, or does he want to do it the way he was trying to, and does he want to earn it, sort of thing. So he just was in a place where he is actively considering the same issues as this. So with her whole thing of what have I got to lose by taking this, or this, it seems to be given to me for nothing, just for the asking. And just the point I was making about how it doesn't really seem to have a cost, but nothing is free. Everything will cost you something. You just may not know what it is. And in the case of taking the easy way to get everything you want immediately, it costs the potential of what you would get out of getting there the long way. Like, what would the journey to get to that point give you? Would it, what kind of perspective would you have? What kind of change would occur on you as a person just by taking the trip, instead of, no, I just want this thing, I want it right now. It's like, with the Jedi and the Sith, the dark side is supposed to be quicker, easier, more seductive, because you're using anger and hatred and strong emotions to literally just force your way through whatever is in front of you and beat the world down with a hammer until it submits, as opposed to finding a way to fit into the flow of things and be at one with the universe, essentially. So it's just the dichotomy of the two choices of, do you want to basically beat the world into submission, or do you want to work with it to get what you want? And that's what he is trying to figure out.
Interesting. Everyone's kind of trying to find their zen. Okay, so do you want to give us extra time to talk about Tasha today? Serenity, could you tell us a little bit about, you weren't on last episode, were you? You definitely weren't. It's been so long. Could you tell us a little bit about designing the mountain and the hunt? Because this was, I think, something a little bit akin to a dungeon crawl, except it was out in the open and also nothing like a dungeon crawl.
It's a mountain crawl.
It's a mountain crawl. Yeah, it seemed like half the battle was kind of just finding things to fight.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even finding things to fight, really. It was so I actually have the jungle path mapped out too, because I wasn't sure which one that they were going to do. And it's not like mapped out in the sense of like I knew the paths, like I was making that up as we went along, but I had like the general things of like, okay, what are the beasts that they could potentially look for? What are some like mountain hazards that are going to be there? And if things go poorly, what are some of the denizens of the actual mountain that they could run into and that could potentially give them trouble? And so I basically just made it as it wasn't really a dungeon crawl in the sense of like how I normally do dungeon crawls, but it was supposed to be like, they're going to have a skill challenge to find these creatures, and various things will happen based on those skill challenges and based on how well they do. And And the first one, they had done okay until they got to like that certain point, and they decided to stick around for those creatures. Like had they have gone in a different direction, they might not have had that encounter with the Etten. But they ended up sticking around and trying to like ambush them and just didn't roll a really great stealth. So it ended up being like that battle. But the rest of their go round, they generally did pretty well on their checks, and so they actually avoided like two potential encounters that I had set up. The giant one was not meant to be an encounter. Like I was hoping that they would just like not go into that, and they were really good about it, like having tongues prepared and just generally like speaking with them and saying like, okay, like we'll back off, was like the smart way to do it. And I was like, okay, thank God they didn't like charge in. And that feels like party a little bit of party growth as well. But that was actually not meant to be like one of the encounters, but there were other ones that I had set up. The rock slide was just like a general thing that I threw in there for fun, and the rock nest was also something that would happen based on how well they did with their checks and stuff like that. And so yeah, it was just kind of like on the fly, like deciding, okay, where are they going? They had prepared really well, like with locate plants and animals and stuff like that, and had like a good idea. The one thing I wasn't like they had to be realistic about how they were hunting creatures. And so like that initial one where they were like, whoa, we'll just like levitate one and like we'll figure out how to like catch the others. I was like, no, if you've ever actually gone hunting or seen like actual people go hunting, like I've watched like safari videos where they like, you know, like they do like roundups of animals and stuff like that when they're trying to like herd them away from like dangerous predators and things like that. Like you understand animal movements, like you're not just going to be able to like randomly levitate one while like not letting the rest of the herd know what's going on. And when they tried to initially stealth up and they screwed up the stealth, like I was like, no, the rest of them are gone, but you got one. So yeah, they definitely had to be smart about it. But the whole other point of this kind of like side adventure was to give Peregrine the opportunity to get more wild shapes. Like I was like, you know, each character kind of needs to grow, and there has to be opportunities for each character to kind of shine. You know, Quinn's had his moments in the last like few episodes. This was like Perry's, you know, like this was her bread and butter, so to speak. Like, yeah, the mountains aren't her area of expertise, but the wilds are. And so it gave her a chance to kind of grow as a character and really show that she has leadership skills. It's just most of the time they're in situations that's not her area of expertise. And so she lets someone else take the lead. But here she was very like, this is my thing. Like, listen to me. I know what I'm doing. And I think that showed. So.
Yay. Okay. Let us now move on and talk about Tasha's. Yay. Okay. Yeah, we're all very excited. I think, yeah, I know we've all read through it, or at least skimmed, and visual aid. Cool beans. So first off, can I just ask for everyone? Podcast. Oh yeah, poor podcast people. Sorry, podcast people. You can Google what
it was. The cover of Tasha's.
It was the cover of Tasha's, but we couldn't really see it because there's too much glare off the screen. So you didn't really miss anything.
It is super shiny. That's one of the key features of the book. Shininess.
Shininess.
Cool beans. Okay, so apart from the shininess, can I get your guys' first impressions of Tasha's?
I enjoy it very much. I love all the different options that are in there for, you know, ways to do different character classes, and just character creation alone. It makes things a lot more fun to try and mess with.
Yeah, it's neat. It's cool. I like it. I don't really have any like major gripes about it, like other than like items and stuff like that. But like, yeah.
Yeah,
don't you want to go into? Sorry, Zarni. Don't you want to go into deep detail about all the items and your opinions on them?
I mean, we can. I mean, if you want
deep detail.
Wizard books.
3 hour discussion on Tasha's. Yeah.
Let's just go one by one from the top of the list,
Yeah.
and you tell us what you like about it, what
Yeah.
you don't like about it,
Yeah,
and
Kaleel's got them
why.
all memorized, man.
This is an item
Yeah.
review.
We can just
Totally
leave.
memorized.
This is the guy that has like the memory like of a sieve. Like honestly,
Hey,
like
hey.
when we played together, I'd be like
Hey.
it'd be 2 seconds later and he wouldn't remember like a
Okay,
person's
but
name.
that's short term. Long term, my memory is pretty good. Like I remember like pretty much like a good amount of like long term, but like short term, don't ask me about short term.
Short term, you're the guy from Memento.
I'm like who? Huh?
But yeah, the books.
Amazing.
I do like the new character creation options. A lot of the subclasses are interesting. Some of them still, in my opinion, not very well balanced. So that was interesting. Like they literally didn't change anything from the UA, and I was like, okay, sure, that's what you're gonna do, Wizards of the Coast. There's gonna be some refinement happening. And then the new class like optional options, a lot of them for me are like super broken, so I wouldn't allow them. But hey, I think it's great for people who want to just like spice up the game and DMs who are comfortable with doing all of that stuff. I think it makes it a lot more fun, and it provides a lot more options for people who don't already homebrew a lot of stuff, like who need some like more guidelines around like how to allow things and what to allow. So I think that's great. I think the one thing that was a bit like lacking for me was like the DM advice that was given in there. It was just like, why did you bother? It's so common sense. I was just like, okay, like the one there was like one, it was like for player and DMs. It was like giving flavor to your spells. It's like, don't people do that anyways? Like if you want to make your fireball look like a duck when it hits someone, it doesn't change the spell anyways. Like sure, it can be exploding duck. Like I just
Ball.
yeah, it was just like some of the advice was weird, and like the session 0 stuff and like the table rules and stuff like that. I don't know. It just felt like they spent a bunch of pages on stuff that they probably could have spent somewhere else. But
Oh yeah, the intro productory could have took it out.
yeah.
Wasn't really necessary.
But otherwise, most of it was great.
Awesome. So were there any new rules or mechanics in particular that you found very exciting or inspiring?
I mean, most of what I was focusing on when I was looking over it was just the different character creation options, like the idea of being able to completely tool everything from the ground up.
I like
not have to be bound to like race or anything with whatever you were trying to do.
I think what was it? I liked the sidekicks. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
They're like the sidekicks and how they grow and stuff. And I like the because this was like always been like kind of a thing as a DM anyway though, like a player thing, like changing subclasses and stuff like that. Like there's a section there about changing subclasses and how you can work with that. Like either there's like one is like at the next level or the level you would be at that subclass, you can change it or talk to your DM and change it. You can train either to train to like if it makes sense to train that subclass, like for like a wizard, like necessarily like if you're a first level wizard, you're not like you've studied for a while, but you've been studied probably for like a general magics. Like you just because you're like a specialist in this doesn't mean like in that short time you've become a specialist in this. You most likely probably become a specialist in something else if you trained for it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's like X number of days or weeks to the level. Like that was interesting. And then the Matt Mercer like sudden changes of things that happen in the story narratively. You could make a decision to talk to your player and like hey, you suddenly become this subclass because like now you're not a fiend warlock anymore. You've made a deal with a unicorn and got rid of the fiend, and now you're a patron of the unicorn. Now you're a celestial warlock. Like that was interesting. I like that because I feel like that was always kind of around anyway. Like people kind of did that anyway. But like this actually gave like a structure to how you could do it.
Grounds it.
Sense of it. So I thought that was deep.
I liked the I can't remember what it was called, but it was like the supernatural environment.
Oh yeah.
Thing that was the one DM
storms and such.
Yeah, that was the one DM thing where I was like, oh, this is super useful. Like I could probably use this somewhere. Like I haven't really thought about this in in a way that like this is done, and there was a few really really good options there. And so that to me was like an exciting thing that potentially I might try at some point and see how that works. But that was the big one for me, I think. I liked the idea of like the group patron, but I feel like I feel like that's more
NPC thing, like a
no,
device?
it's more like a thing that happens naturally in your game where like for instance, right now in the current game on Roll for Damage, it's like they're now becoming a part of the Desert Rose, which would technically be like a group patron as they are now a part of this organization and have been tasked to do quests for them, and who knows what that will spawn later on. And I feel like a lot of DMs do that anyways. So again, it wasn't like mind-blowingly, oh wow, but I did like they gave quite a few different options of what those things could be that you could potentially use elsewhere in your game. Like you don't necessarily like a group patron doesn't have to stick with the group for an entire campaign. It can be like,
Yeah.
while you're in the city, this is potentially something you could use. But if you move on somewhere else, well, yeah, maybe you become friends with a lich and do a whole bunch of quests for him, or maybe you talk to a thieves guild somewhere and get inducted into their fold and become friends with them or whatever. So it was cool having like options.
Yeah, it's something that they are like that already naturally occurred in D&D, but it's like they just put words to it.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, I feel a
okay.
lot of it
Yeah.
was like guidelines of like, here's to really help those people who have a harder
Yeah.
time like envisioning this stuff from homebrew.
Yeah, that's what most of it is just, it's giving a framework for things that already happen, just saying, hey, here's the thing that people have been doing for, I don't know, ever. Try it out for yourself, maybe. And it's handy because someone like me, whenever I'm running stuff, I will essentially just strip something down to its bones like a house and then rebuild it in my own image. And it's nice to have the bones of something to work off of. Like, oh, I see that has been happening. What can I do to screw with that? I know. And then
Yeah, I think it was mostly useful for like more beginner DMs who don't have the
Right. So
confidence.
like this
to
is
kind
like an idea, a rough idea of like
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
this could be one of the ways. And like, oh, I like that. Maybe you can change that in a different way. That's mostly what it
Yeah,
is.
Yeah, they pre-strip the bones for you.
it's handy.
Yeah, it makes
They've
them
deboned the chicken.
deboned
Hooray.
the chicken. Make some nice stock. Okay, was there anything that you guys did not care for particularly? I know Serenity was just talking about how you think some of the subclasses are still unbalanced.
Nope.
Talk
Um,
about that.
the only thing I didn't like, and the only thing I've banned in my game is the Blue Dream, the Veil of the Blue Dream.
Oh, you don't
So-
want your campaign broken?
No, yeah, that's, like I was like, guys, everything is fine. I'm fine with everything. Like because I want to see how it fits and everything. And if it's like I can like being characterly mechanically broken, I can like just make things harder or more challenging. Like, but a spell that's literally like, well, you can just if I accidentally just introduce like if I not accidentally like if I plan to introduce a person from a different realm, like then and then now they have the spell, they're just like, well, we want to fucking take this guy's shit and go to his realm now. Like it's like, well, it's kind of like it gets sloppy, and I'm just like, I don't want to like have to like intentionally be like, oh fuck, I brought someone from fucking Wildmount by accident, and now they're fucking trying to go to Exandria. I'm just like, I just that spell is like, I'm good on that spell. Everything else I'm fine with, but that spell is just kind of like, and it's like
Too
it's
much.
seventh level too. It's like not even like it's that high up. It's like
Yeah.
you can get that spell, and like I was talking about someone like you can get that spell because it's like a bard, wizard, sorcerer spell. You can get
Yep.
that spell, get Mordekainen's Magnificent Mansion, so you can go into your mansion, then use that spell, and you're like, there's no like drawbacks to the spell. Like the one drawback is like you have to stay there for like a long period. Your body stays, you actually project your body for like an hour or something like that, and then your body transports afterwards. So I mean, you can just kind of like set up Mordekainen's mansion and then go. So there's no like really drawbacks. It's just kind of like this is just like a derailing of the game. like the campaign setting. So it's like I'm good on that.
No thanks.
Yeah. That was the only thing that I would not really be too big of a fan of, just because of the idea of, like he was saying, all of a sudden being able to say, you know what, I don't like the world you've built.
Right.
I want to go to Ravnica. Go buy that
Another
book,
one.
you fucking chump.
I actually don't have a problem with that. I think that if, first of all, like 7th level spells, you're level 13, 14 in order to do it. So you're getting
13,
close
14,
to the end of a campaign anyways. Like you're getting up to like more epic levels. If a group decides to like screw themselves basically and go to another world, do it. You go to the next world, you come out there, you essentially have nothing to do, you figure your way around. Your money may not be worth anything. You may just be in the middle of nowhere. I think it's a group choice. At that point, you may decide that to do like an epilogue with the characters being done, but like that's an ultimate choice, because if they leave their current world and whatever is going on in their world, that world still keeps spinning. Like that time doesn't just stop for that world. So if you decided to go, it's like, okay. And then if you decide 20 days later to come back and the apocalypse has occurred because you weren't there to help do anything and you've left all the allies that you'd promised to help or whatever and taken a bunch of really powerful items with you, that's like, I like that kind of stuff, because to me that paints consequences on the group and what they choose to do. Maybe they don't care about that world. Maybe they're like, okay, well, like we don't want to have anything to do with it. But I don't really have a problem with that. I just think like you're at such a late level in the campaign at that point to have that kind of spell, and the entire group has to agree with it. Like if the bard is just like, okay, I'm going to use a spell, it doesn't just auto work on the entire group. So if they do it, it's like, okay, your character's gone. Bye. I guess you make a new one, because the rest of the group is still wants to continue, like dealing with whatever problems in the world that they currently have. So I think it's an ultimate group decision, and I don't really have a problem with that. I do have a problem with like, oh man, there are a bunch. I don't agree with like the bardic versatility. To just be able to swap out every 4 levels what expertise you want based on where you are in the campaign. Like that to me doesn't make sense. Like the whole reason you have expertise is based on how you've built your character. Your character has expertise because they've trained so much in something that they are very, very good at it. To just be like, well, today I'm great at performance, but tomorrow I'm great at acrobatics. And then the next day, like 2 weeks down the line, I'm amazing at nature. I don't know. Like to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like it just takes away from the whole idea of that, like what expertise kind of is for me. Same with like the deft explorer for the ranger. I think it breaks the ranger. They just get free, can never be exhausted. They just have to short rest, and it's like, yep, not exhausted anymore. I'm like, okay, so basically you can't use the exhaustion mechanic with them like ever. They get expertise for no reason. They get a swimming and climbing speed just randomly at like another level. I'm just like, you're kind of just giving this character out. Like I get that the ranger was not the greatest, but they've made some subclasses that make pretty powerful rangers. Yeah, some of those were too much for me. So I'm not a big fan. I could keep going. There's like a lot of things that I disagree with, but those were some of the major ones.
Cool beans. Actually, I think that would probably be a good transition into subclasses. Since one of the big things that Tasha's did was really expand on subclasses and make some of the UA subclasses canon, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
Cool beans. So
And
yeah,
they're
talk about official. Yes, official. Talk about the subclasses you liked, didn't like, etc.
I really want to play a Psy Warrior because I would want to make a Jedi. I'm putting that out there in the world because you can basically make a Jedi. You give a Psy Warrior a Sun Sword and you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. It would be freaking cool. But yeah, that's one that just jumps out as I like the idea of this.
So many.
I love Star Wars so much.
Like, Like the Phantom Rogue, I thought was like really really cool.
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually really like it. The Order of Scribe Wizard was pretty neat. Like you're like a super book nerd, but like the fact that you can like create scrolls like just indefinitely was really really cool to me. It like it has a whole different utility for a wizard. The Genie Warlock is kind of interesting. I like the idea of like making a wish with your patron. I don't know what else. There's like a few, but those are like the ones like off the top of my head that are like, oh, I really like also there's like the Clockwork Sorcerer, which I thought was actually
Clockwork Soul.
Yeah, really really interesting. That was like an interesting take on like a more kind of like steampunk-esque kind of sorcerer. So yeah, that was neat to me.
Yeah, that was really neat. The one thing I enjoy is that, as far as subclasses that Tasha's did do, is with one of the OG subclasses, Beastmaster, they made the Ranger's Beast Companion not worthless after level 6.
No, yeah.
That is really most of what was needed to be done to fix Ranger. Is I've got this tiger that follows me around. Like, well, they're gonna have a tiger's hit points forever. And even though you are getting to be like, I don't know, almost into the 100 range, depending on how well you roll at a certain level, like that tiger is going to be pretty dang useless after a fashion. Like, we're going to go fight the Lich. Come on, Hobbs. And then it's disintegrated and dead forever.
Yeah.
There's more that needs to be done in the Ranger. But that was like a big thing. Is Beastmaster after level 6 is just why?
Yeah. I enjoyed most of the subclasses. I don't think I had any. I think there's not one I was like, oh, I don't like this. Maybe. No, I don't think. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I really like the armor. This one, Iron Man.
Heck yeah. Who doesn't want to be Iron Man?
Yeah, I'm saying I just want to be.
That was the Artificer, right?
Yes.
Artificer. Yeah, the armor.
Yeah. So they've made Artificer actually like super official now, and like
yes.
I really enjoy the Genie Warlock patron. That's a very interesting one. The Creation Bard. I really like that one.
The Eloquence Bard was nuts to me. I was like, this is so good. If you've got like a talker in your party, I actually really like that Bard and want to try it at some point.
And I think that like I want to see. I'm interested to see like the statistics on like the like how perform things that work, because there's some classes where I'm like, this could outdo like some of the tried and true subclasses that usually take over in a campaign. I'm interested in Druid and Cleric for the first time ever with the new subclasses.
The Cleric domains like Order and Twilight are super sick.
Yeah. I really like the Twilight. I have a few ideas for like a Twilight Cleric now, like a Druid, like a Stars Druid. I like the subclasses. I think I'm like, if I had like the ones I'm like, they're interesting, but like I'm not.
Barb
like,
was.
The fighter ones, like the fighter and the barb ones, like not the fighter, but I'm saying like the melee ones. I'm like, okay, like the orders.
Rune Knight seemed pretty cool. I like
Rune
that
Knight
you could
I'm talking about the melee classes though. I'm saying not the fighter in general. I'm saying the melee classes subclass. I'm like, okay. Like Rune Knight is interesting. I like Rune Knight. It's like Rune Knight and Soul Knight. They add a lot of options and like flavorability to do with your character. So I like those.
But like the Beast, Path of the Beast, Barbarian, I was just like,
the Wild Soul. It's kind of interesting.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
light on a Barbarian. I like to see that worked out. But the Paladin, I don't remember what it's called, but the Paladin orders, I wasn't too.
Yeah, they weren't.
And even from the Theros book too, I wasn't. It was kind of like the Paladin orders were kind of like, but I mean, Paladins are kind of really strong anyway. So it's like, how much help do they need?
Yeah.
It's already so fighty. Okay, cool. Yeah, so lots of interesting subclasses in Tasha's. So what initially got a lot of buzz with the new rules is the revamping of race mechanics. So what do you think about the new rules when it comes to racial ability modifiers,
Yes,
and like the
please.
implications of that?
I love it.
I
Yeah.
don't think there are any implications. I think like every race is balanced for a reason. If all you're doing is letting them put the +2 and the +1 in a different place, that's just allowing someone to play a class that they want to play with the race that they want to play it with. I don't like, you're not breaking anything. It would be broken if you allowed like something more than that. Like if you moved racial abilities from a race, like if you were like, I'm going to take the dwarf racial abilities and put it on a human plus the human, like that would be unbalanced. But I think if I want to make, instead of like a dwarf fighter or a dwarf paladin, or whatever they get their bonuses to, it's like con and strength or something like that. I think
I don't remember.
like if you want to make a dwarf wizard or a dwarf whatever, and I guess it's probably more important to like point bias stat creation, because if you roll well beforehand, even if you were playing an off race with a class you wanted, it wouldn't be too horrible if you rolled like an 18 in a stat, because then even if you're not getting the +2, you're starting with an 18 in a stat, right? But if you're point buying, like every stat matters, and so to try to make like, you know, a dwarven wizard is hard, because you're only going to start with like a 14 or maybe 15 in your int. And so I really, really like the fact that now people can, like, I can play a Goliath nerd.
Yeah.
That's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it'll break a lot of the stereotypes that have happened, where you always have the half orc barbarian or, you know, warrior or whatever, or you always have the gnome meek wizard or, you know, druid or something like that. Like now people can actively do whatever they want and have super fun with it. So,
and it does two things, I feel, because there's always these, like, we've all heard like the stereotypes, like a warlock tiefling, the half elf bard. There's like races that, you know, do like, even if you roll bad stats, you know, I'm this race, I'm most likely gonna still do okay because I have a +2 and like in beneficial stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, elven ranger.
So, like, wood elf ranger, stuff like that, and like
some things are classics for a reason.
Right, they're classics. But like it does, and I feel like they were 5e was what they were trying to do before, was just to make different like variants of races that like are different. So like like the tiefling, like when they had the Tomb of Foes, the tiefling, they like made like 10,000 tieflings, and like they just switched around how they work. So it's like, int, then this one's wisdom, this one's dex, and so you can still be a tiefling, and now you can like, well, I want to be a tiefling, I can be a wizard now because I have a +2 or +1 intelligence. So that's what they were trying to do, was just like add all these elf variants and tiefling, and like they just add like Asmar, Dwarf, like they just added, like just kept making variants. I think this probably means that we'll probably get less of those, like less of like the variants of things, unless it's like a specific book where they're like talking about this type of race specifically. I think we'll get less of those now, and just because you just interchange the thing, because now it's only about the abilities they have and the racial features now. So I think that's a good thing. I like it, and I think it's a good thing. I think it'll mean less like more options aren't always good, because there's a lot of race options already now. So it's like it would not water down the
less
options.
is more sometimes. Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes,
also now people, I know like a lot of people have had a hard time homebrewing a race without making it too overpowered for like comparative to the other races that other people have chosen. Now they gave an actual option for a race that's homebrewed that can take like a template and that you can use to basically give someone an option. So if someone's like, I want to make a half dragon, well, I believe a half dragon was a race in like 3.5 or something like that. Like there used to be like actual racial stats for that, but they never did that for 5. Now you can be like, okay, you want to be a half dragon? No problem. I'll give you this, like, you know, as a beginner DM or someone who doesn't want to homebrew and is worried about balance, I'll give you can make it based off of this template. Here's what you get. I think it's very similar to human. Like you get an extra feat and like you get something else.
And
then plus
dark
your
vision and stuff like that.
Plus your 2 plus your 1, and then that's it. And I think that's also really, really great, because it allows people to then be a a badger person if they want, and
Mhm.
and play that race, and then still be balanced with the other people who choose the traditional elf or the tiefling or whatever else.
Yeah.
Be a badger.
I mean, you could be a honey badger and not care at all.
There you go.
Anthropomorphic honey badger, not caring all over the fantasy worlds. But
Nice.
I love the options that are there, because I mean, I've made characters where I had to, like, I was boxed into, well, I rolled like crap here, so I have to take this race so I can use that plus to get out of the hole I dug myself into. Like, suppose that's why Quinn's a half elf, because I rolled for garbage on one stat and I didn't want a 7. So I turned that into a 9 with half elf charisma.
Yeah.
And like, this means you don't have to, like, if you're trying to either do really well at something, or if you do just happen to have a garbage roll that you can't get rid of and you want to try and mitigate that disaster, you don't have to just pick from, well, I can be one of these 3 things. It opens everything up. Like, you just do whatever you want. Just don't break anything,
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's freeing creatively, which is a lot of fun.
Because that's the same. Interesting you say that, because that's why when I was making Baltaim, I wanted to be a Asimar, specifically Fallen, because there's like the things that you get charisma in is like, I've like like half like I think we already knew like what we were playing. I think at that point.
Yeah, your class.
No, I think we knew what like like our group. We knew what we were going. Yeah, classes we were going, like the race we were going this. So I think there was like already 2 half elves in there. I was like, I don't want to be a half elf and be like the third half elf. Like
we would have had 1.5 elves, man.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like it's like I don't want to be like there's a half elf clique, and then I think Oriana was already a tiefling. And I was like, I don't want to be it would be like, I guess, but like I don't want to be a tiefling either. I was trying to figure I was trying to get something in that charisma area that was like different. So it's like, and I don't feel like most people play Asmar, especially Fallen. Maybe I think they probably like normal Asmar because of the wings and stuff. But like,
I mean, fly speed is cool.
Right, it's cool. But I'm saying like I was like trying to get something in that like that charisma realm that like is not like a half elf or a tiefling. And I was like, well, Asmar is interesting because I've not seen someone do it recently. I feel like, and we had none of that race in our group anyway. So I thought that would be just like another dynamic. So I like that. So I like that. You can now, I could have been like, I want to be an orc.
Yeah.
I mean,
also, no more negative fucking mod to orcs. Like,
oh yeah, let's talk about that. That being gone, that's great.
I want to be an orc, sorcerer, or wizard, or whatever the fuck I want to be. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, where does it say an orc has to be stupid? That's just dumb. Yeah, it is that too. Orcs. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I wanted to be an orc way back. Serenity for Zoe, I wanted to be a full orc, but I had to do half orc because I didn't want negative mods.
Negative mods, yeah. And then also it's like you have to play into like the blood where they're like they get aggressive really easily, and it's just like, okay, but what if you're born in like a city or something like that? Yeah. What if your parents have like immigrated there and they're not violent?
Different culture,
and you went to university and you're one of the smartest people in the academy? So that means you're just naturally gonna be dumber than everyone else, and you're gonna have these impulsive urges to like bash things. That's kind of weird, right? Like, you're a product of your environment, I feel, more than anything else, right? So yeah.
Cool beans. Okay, so do we all feel like Tasha's has like improved the 5e the 5e rule ecosystem, or is it mostly just a bunch of cool stuff?
I mean, I feel like don't get me wrong, I like it. I like like 99.9% of everything in there. Or let's bump that down to 80 after the items. So
everything but Blue Veil.
Yeah, everything excluding the aside most items. But
every item.
I think I feel like Xanthar's probably had a bigger imprint so far on like the rules and like the ecosystem, because I feel like Xanthar's kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of like downtime, like events, character classes. Added some races that were not previously had. So I feel like Xanthar's probably might have been like a bigger impact necessarily, but I feel like this is more like a quality of life tweaking that like made it
Hmm.
better for like in conjunction with it has rounded it out as a whole. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree because there's not a lot that's incredibly like groundbreaking here
Mhm.
aside from the character creation options.
Right.
And because that's basically just saying, okay, we've given you all these other tools with all these other races, all these other things. Now, just because that is also restricting in a way, take this idea to give yourself more to play with and make literally whatever thing you want. It's a fantasy world. You're not actually playing Baldur's Gate. You can go to Baldur's Gate as your badger person if you want to make your badger person. I feel like we need to trademark badger person.
Maybe.
But anyway,
Your
but
New book coming
badger
out.
barbarian.
badgerarian.
Badgerarian, yeah.
I honestly think that this is more of like a an addendum. I feel like Tasha's is basically like 5e and Wizards of the Coast acknowledging the problematic nature of the original creation of D&D. And being like, yeah, we
that's
need
a
to
lot of it,
update
too.
it for the times. Like we realize that there are like, this was created by a white person who probably was not very well versed in like multiculturalism and like the understanding nature of our society as a whole, and we're going to now fix the game to allow for the inclusion of everyone. I would say that this is their way of trying to be inclusive. And I feel like they're not perfect and there's still work to be done. But I think that they've done a good job here to try and kind of like allow everyone to kind of feel like they can make something that showcases who they are or allows them to play the game how they want. So I don't feel like it's groundbreaking, but I feel like it's progress forward and an acknowledgement by Wizards of the Coast that like, hey, we realize mistakes were made and we're trying to be better about it.
Yeah.
Like
As far
official
as
errata.
Yeah. That's what it feels like. Official errata. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like inclusivity and representation, this is a good first step forward. Definitely.
Yep.
That's not saying there are not many more steps that can be taken and should be, and hopefully are in whatever other books they make. But this is, the fact that this exists is showing that effort is being made.
But I feel like they're doing that in a lot of their brand new Curse of Strahd module completely changed how the Vistani are portrayed and like all of like the background story and things like that. So I think like again, this is their way of doing this in a book that touches the stuff that's not module based that people can actually use to run their games. So.
Nice. Okay. Do we have any closing thoughts about Tasha's?
It's good.
Wizards don't need this many items. Riot.
Just don't use them in your game, dude.
Just stop. No. Just don't copy and paste the same wizard book 12 times, please. I would like to.
I have not read through all the items, but I want to see, because I've done this as an engineer where I will copy and paste like a sentence or a piece of code or something like that, and I'll forget to change what I copied and pasted. I would love to read through all those items and see if they accidentally didn't change a word and they actually did just copy and paste it for each like book, and they actually miss like changing the name of the book, like Book of Storms, but it's actually the previous one, which was like the Book of Fire or something like that. And they're like, it says like Book of Storms and it says the Book of Fire is actually meant to do this thing, and they forgot to like change the name. I want to see if that's the case. I haven't read through it, but it would be hilarious. But yeah, no. I think it's great. I think it's a good tool for newer DMs and newer players getting in. I think a lot of seasoned people have already been kind of homebrewing the rules for themselves to kind of make this a reality and to include people in their groups and stuff like that. So, and make it fun for people. So, I would say like if you're newer to the ecosystem, like hopefully this brings new people in. But yeah, I think it's just like a good general new book to have for people getting into the world of D&D.
Awesome. Okay, and that's our show. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Tune in next week on Tuesday for the next episode of this. Tune in on Friday for the next episode of that, which is Roll for Damage. Check out our store, check out our Twitter, check out our other videos on our YouTube and our Twitch. Come join the Discord if you haven't already. We're always funny in there, talking about Critical Role a lot and random
I made a new
stuff.
D&D memes channel. So.
I was gonna say, if you weren't gonna plug that, I was about to, because if you like D&D memes, and
we
who
have
doesn't?
a channel for that now. Yeah,
Who has that now?
Memes. Come
That's
post
content
memes,
we
view
present.
memes, meme with us. Okay. Yeah, stick around for links and resources. Thank you to Sunburn Lady Meows for doing our music and our logo. And good night. Bye, guys.
Have a good night,
Love you.
everyone. See you later.